Good evening, everyone. I'm Travis Jensen, Vice President of Leadership Initiatives here at the SDSU Alumni Association. On behalf of the Alumni Association and South Dakota State University, I want to extend a warm welcome to the third annual Jumpstart Your Wellness Seminar. We are so happy that you are able to join us. I'd like to take this moment to also welcome everyone that is watching via Zoom today. We're glad that you are able to join us as well. The Jumpstart Your Wellness Seminar is intended to shine a light on the importance of investing in one's health and well-being. Our aim with this seminar is to educate, ignite your interest, and hopefully help you jumpstart your journey to a healthier you. We're thrilled about the speaker lineup that we have for today. Each year, we continue to find excellent presenters who have a passion for health and wellness and a desire to share their experiences with the world. We hope you find these talks stimulating and encourage you to be more deliberate about your wellness. We're also happy to bring back our two wellness guides as part of today's event. Our two guides will help us understand how each topic relates to our overall health and wellness. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our first wellness guide. Sherry Landmark is a two-time graduate of SDSU and currently serves as the Chief Wellness Officer for South Dakota State University. In this role, she provides leadership to the Miller Wellness Center and its many services, including the Student Health Clinic, counseling services, and fitness and recreation programs. Sherry is also involved in several university and division-wide committees supporting the university's mission and goals. Please join me in welcoming Sherry Landmark.
Good evening. The sun is kind of shining out there, so that's positive. Thanks for having Mariah and I back again. Hopefully we didn't mess up too much last year because here we are. So thank you, appreciate that. I'm with the University Wellbeing Unit on campus, which is a new unit, our newer unit within the last couple years. We're really excited to have that unit on campus, and it's really all things wellness, as Travis just said. And we are also very fortunate that our university strategic plan, one of the four initiatives that we have, our goals, is to be a healthy and high-performing university. So it's not just student affairs or certain areas of campus that are looking towards that, well-being in your life, in your work. But it is really the whole university has our back, and it's exciting. It's exciting to have some of our students here, our student instructors, as well as some members that are members of the facility here now today to learn a little more, and I'm sure there's some online as well. So as we said, university support, we also have a lot of, committees, and has representation across, whether it's faculty, whether it's staff, students, from all areas that really just show, once again, that commitment to health and wellness on campus. So up here is a self-assessment, which we created this last year, and Mariah will go a little bit into some goal setting at the end, but it is also in your packet. So if you have an opportunity to scan that and take that quick assessment today, that's great. Otherwise, you can do that after you leave today. So dimensions of wellness. We used to have a wheel, and it's just impossible to have your wheel balanced. I used to say, oh, you might have a flat tire and be able to go. It's impossible. We can't do it. And that's okay, right? I call it kind of like the cha-cha. Like here you think one area might move forward and one might move back. So, your life might go like this every hour, every day, every week, every year. You just don't know what's coming on or coming towards you. But we really have a lot of really great tools and resources to help you with each of these dimensions, as well as presentation requests. So whether it's on campus, a student group, a department, off campus, a business, a community group that you want us to come and speak on health and wellness, we would love to come out and be part of that. So the wheels, we have environmental, physical, and you see physical as in a treadmill. Most of us think physical's running around doing something. It's really honing into your heart and what's in your body. Mindful, occupational, digital, financial, and social. And once again, we have a lot of really great resources, a cash course for students to take that they can learn about taxes. Do you know what a 1099 is? I just had to do that for my son. So, you got to learn these things when they go to college. But learning just those simple tax facts, how to purchase a car, pay for it, so on and so forth. So some really great things. We also have a well-being podcast, which some in this room have been part of that. Once again, hits a lot of these dimensions of wellness, which is really great. So today, as we said, this isn't going to be perfect, right? And when in life we're faced with challenges, and resiliency kind of helps us move past those, deal with those, and just manage them on a day-to-day. And I'm just super pleased to announce our three speakers tonight, Seth, Carly, and Keely. And they are going to really talk and show you a little bit about how to be resilient. So thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. The resources you shared with us will be incredibly helpful as we look to connect with the next three presentations. With that in mind, it is my pleasure to introduce our first presenter. Keely Eagleshield is a Hunkpapa Lakota from the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe who graduated from South Dakota State University with a BS in civil engineering. She has a background in environmental engineering, is an Indigenous artist, and a passionate advocate for Indigenous environmentalism and healing. As a student, she navigated the challenges of higher education while balancing personal and cultural responsibilities, ultimately earning her degree through perseverance and adaptability. Her journey highlights the importance of self-care, resilience, and community support in achieving success. Keely currently serves as the program coordinator for the Wokini Initiative here at SDSU. Please help me welcome Keely Eagleshield.
Okay, let's hope I don't mess up the clicker too much, but I practiced. Okay, let's actually test this. Perfect. So I want you to imagine standing in two very different worlds at the exact same time. One foot planted in traditions and the values of your people, and the other foot planted in a system that was not designed for you to succeed. This is the plight of Indigenous people in most systems. Hamatakiapi, Keely Eagleshield, Damachiapi, Inyam Wozlal Heoyate. Hello, everybody. My name is Keely Eagleshield. I'm a Hunkpapa Lakota from the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. And today I'm talking to you about wellness. Of course, it's not the kind that is going to work out or getting yourself a sweet treat after a hard day, even though I love both of those. But it's the deeper kind, the kind that's rooted in identity, healing, and persistence. So this is the story of how I earned my degree, but more importantly, how I stayed whole while doing it. So college is hard for anybody. For Indigenous peoples, it is a lot of navigating a system that was just not built for us. And often we are not seen. And more often, repeatedly, we are misunderstood. I came from a community where family and traditions and kinship are everything. Our history and who we are is not often found in textbooks, and you might find pieces of us in your televisions nowadays, but where we truly live is within our relationships. Often a little tricky, a little wonky, but deeply intertwined and close and tight-knit. Our relationships with our communities, with our people, with our traditions, with our, I thought I heard the microphone, with our traditions, with our languages, with each other, with the environment, and with ourselves means everything. And then I came to college and I walked into a lecture hall where none of that exists and hyper-independence is prioritized. It's the norm, it's expected. And everything I thought I might have known or been prepared for, I just simply wasn't. where people did not know the difference between Indigenous, Native American, American Indian, where professors will single you out in a classroom and expect you to be the spokesperson for every Native person's thoughts, perspectives, feelings. In these moments, I didn't need to ask whether I belonged. I knew that I didn't. But then I had to ask myself the real question, which is, do you keep going and why? I remember one semester, I messed it up. I remember one semester, I had no idea if I was going to be able to afford going to college. And so I did not show up to classes for 2 weeks. I didn't go because of many personal experiences before I came to campus and on campus during that time, that I was exhausted of being misunderstood, and reaching out to somebody on campus was just not going to happen. So I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't go to anybody, I felt like, and I ended up looking inward. I wasn't doing this just for me, but I had to figure out what was the answer to those questions. Who was I doing it for and why? I was doing it for my younger self. And there's the picture. And thankfully, I've learned to smile since then. But I was doing it for her and for any Native student who has ever been told repeatedly, time and time again, that you're not enough of this or you're too much of that. I decided that I need to reconnect to her and figure out what she would want to see. And not all at once, but slowly, I started to heal. I started to heal by finding community here on campus. At the time, we didn't have the American Indian Student Center that many of you are familiar with now, hopefully. If not, go check it out. But there was the beginning of a center. And with that, I also decided and realized that I could do a little bit more. I could figure out how to be my own person. Again, what would young little Keely want to see? I realized that I could start romanticizing the college experience. Again, the issue was I wasn't seeing a lot of indigeneity in higher education, so I decided to make that myself. And with that, I started to discover others who have been in similar paths. What did they do in these experiences? What did they need to see? And how did they keep going? And eventually I realized that I could be successful all on my own, and I could be the person that younger me needed. And I knew that others eventually wanted me to succeed. There are people who donate to give funds for the scholarship program, which helped me get back on track after that really stressful time of figuring that out with the American Indian Center's help. And I started to enjoy my experience here on college, or here on campus at college, even though I just wasn't really sure what I was doing. But all of this growth helped me rediscover my passion for creativity. Now, this started to reignite the idea that I could actually bridge my two worlds together. And it wasn't just about self-care, but it was about going through this personal journey to grow beyond just survival mode. So how did I make it through? By walking the path of healing with my younger self, it helped me discover what it means to be kind to yourself, what it means to be able to set healthy boundaries, and what it means to know yourself enough to create systems and routines that make you successful. I've heard all the critiques. Why didn't you take a gap year? And why would you go to college if you can't afford it? Well, please take my word for it that at that time in my situation, going to college was the only option. And if an Indigenous student is on your campus and in your classroom and they want to learn, please let them. I've heard, or if I could go back to my very first day on campus, I would give myself 4 main pieces to this framework that I've discovered over time. And that's creating your own routines and sticking to them, having a support system, even if that means it's just one person on campus, knowing when to rest and not just anxiety naps, and setting boundaries, and in my case, learning when to say no. The fact that I was even in those classrooms and that I came back even after missing 2 weeks of classes and having to listen to my engineering classmates ask me questions and navigating all that fun stuff, doing that time and time again and figuring it out was very powerful. And again, even at that time, I wasn't really understanding what was going on, where this exhaustion was coming from, but knowing that We're improving that here on campus now, hopefully by telling our students that you are powerful, even if they feel like it's corny. I think really goes a long way. It helps them feel that sense of community that I was lacking. So graduation didn't just mean I finished school, but it meant that I was able to write this story of success. And a story that I wasn't super familiar with. Again, I didn't really have indigeneity in higher education understanding. And so it was really about just having perseverance. And so I wasn't just navigating college despite being Native, despite being poor, despite not knowing what I was doing, but because I'm Indigenous and because I know where I come from, a long line of people who are resilient and have gone through so much more for me to be able to stand here right now in front of you. And I know that my healing journey isn't over, and there will always be pieces of us that we leave behind, but that's just part of the growing journey. We have to keep going and find new pieces to take its place. So going through the college experience didn't just teach me about resiliency, but it did teach me that wellness doesn't look the same for everybody. But that doesn't mean that you can't decide what that looks like for you and develop it yourself. So if you take anything away from today, please let it be this, that we can make our spaces that if we make space for Indigenous students to bring their whole selves into the classroom, our culture, our values, our grief, our joy, and our humor, that we can thrive and grow together for a better future. And I'm using my high school graduation picture because I had the pleasure of graduating in 2020. So I'm there with my little sister. And I know that if we come together and feel more open with sharing our experiences and feeling comfortable on this campus, that it will go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you, Keely. I just have to say, I deeply appreciate your willingness to make yourself vulnerable and share your experience with all of us. It's my hope that it provides each of us with greater perspective and helps us to make more meaningful connections with everyone that we encounter. Thank you again. Our next presenter is no stranger to SDSU. Seth Daughters is a two-time graduate of SDSU, earning both his bachelor and master of science degrees in exercise science here at State. A former member of the Jackrabbit football team, Seth took his passion for physical activity into the classroom, where he currently serves as an instructor and field experience coordinator for the exercise science program. He is a certified strength and conditioning specialist, a USAW Level 1 sports performance coach, and serves as the National Strength and Conditioning Association's North Central Regional Coordinator. Let's give a warm welcome for Seth Daughters.
Thank you, everybody. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Travis, for the introduction. I need to talk quick because as some of the people that know me here in the room know that I like to talk, so I will do my best to keep to the time frame. So I'm going to talk to you guys tonight about the physical side of the dimension of wellness, specifically in exercise and physical activity, in an area that I've been very passionate about really since I got into the career. I'm trained by training, I'm a strength conditioning professional. I practiced in the field for about 10 years prior to teaching here full-time at SDSU. And the resiliency, when Travis asked me to talk about some physical activity or something within the dimensions of wellness, resiliency and physical activity matched up really, really well. So building resiliency through physical activity is something that is for everybody. It is really the basis of physical activity. And so we'll start with a couple definitions here. The definitions of resiliency, according to the American Psychological Association, shows that it's a process and outcome of adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences, especially through mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility and adjustments to external and internal demands. Similarly, physical activity can be looked at in the same light, in that it is also a process and recovery and outcome of adapting to external and internal demands that we place on the body. And so it's really the physical activity is the building of resiliency, and we can do that from a physical or body standpoint. We can also do that for our mind as well. So I'm going to start with a story. I'll adjust this since I'm a little taller, so I'm not standing hunched over. Like I said, I practiced in the field for quite some time, and I worked with a variety of people, but there's one client, we'll call him Joe today, that had a huge impact on me as a strength coach. He was 72 years old at the time that I got to work with Joe, and he had had a double knee replacement surgery. He had had one that he'd had replaced. He'd been through physical therapy and recovered from that, had the other one replaced, and was cleared by his physical therapist to start working with me. We talked and kind of decided that he would start with a low impact type of program. He would start with general strength, balance, flexibility, getting him back to his activities of daily living. Joe was recreationally active, and he would have been the first to tell you that that was a good definition, but he was active when he had to be, and he definitely wasn't meeting guidelines. And so we'd been working together for about 10 months. I was probably not his favorite person 2 to 3 days per week. But after about 10 months and unprompted, he said 2 things to me during a workout session that really showed that, 1, confirmed to me what I was doing was working, but 2, showed that he had buy-in to those programs. And so the first thing he said is, "You can't tell from looking at me, but I feel great." And so through all the metrics and the testing and the assessments that I did with him from time to time over those 10 months, this one meant the most to me versus any number. That he was feeling his daily life become easier, that he understood that at his age of 72, you're not going to change from a physique standpoint as much as you would when you're 25 to 30 years old, but that his daily life was becoming easier. And then he said, the workouts don't get any easier, but life sure has. And that was what really struck me and was really the statement that said he understood, that allowed me to understand that he understood why I was doing for him what I was doing for him from a program standpoint. So keep Joe in mind as we go through the rest of the talk. So he understood the benefits by this time, or at least I felt that he was really understanding the benefits. And these aren't earth-shattering things. You guys probably know these to some degree from a physical activity standpoint, but we can really have benefits from physical activity, both body and mind. Things like improving cardiovascular health, strengthening muscle and bones, enhancing our immune system, and then reducing our chance of chronic disease. All 4 of these are building resiliency to a certain situation, right? We improve our cardiovascular health, improves our heart health, we improve our muscles and bones, it improves our resiliency to injury and falls. We improve our immune system function and improves our resiliency to sickness and then ultimately disease. From the mind standpoint, we can see benefits in the form of reduced anxiety, stress, and depression, improvement in terms of feeling of well-being and self-efficacy, the understanding that we can do something and that we can continue to do that, enhancing our cognitive function, our awareness, our ability to act and react over time, and then we promote better sleep and quality of sleep, which that in and of itself is sure to benefit all of those things that I talked about previously. So my students, I told them there's going to be a quiz after this because we're actually going through this right now in class. But those benefits, we have to adapt to it. And we have to allow the body to adapt to a variety of things that we place on it. And so this is called the general adaptation syndrome and was coined by Hans Selye in the 1950s. We teach this to our students as the gas principle and really shows the process that the body goes through during physical activity. And so really what you're seeing here without going too deep into this chart is you see some kind of wave patterns of some dips below the line and then raising above. And so our body really goes through 3 phases. We react to the exercise, the stress. The first arrow there is kind of the stressor or your physical activity bout. We react to that. Our body kind of goes, whoa, what's going on? And then through recovery, through sleep, through good nutrition and hydration, we can recover to and above the baseline that we were at before, ultimately hoping to get to, is there a pointer on this thing? Nope. Number 3 at the top, okay? We're ultimately hoping to do what's called supercompensation, where our body has reacted, has adapted to those stressors, and then ultimately we can get better and kind of go up and to the right as this chart would increase. So from a cognitive standpoint, we're doing a few different things. We're increasing some adrenaline and cortisol, which acutely is a benefit. Again, it kind of gives you that mental clarity, that alertness after a workout. We improve our neurotransmitters, our body's ability to kind of move efficiently, our mind-muscle connection. But ultimately, we're trying to acclimatize to stress and hopefully lessen stress responses as we go through time for subsequent exercise or physical activity or just daily life. From a physical standpoint, we improve our mobilization of energy. We really just make it more efficient to use that energy and have that available. We adapt to heart rate, blood pressure, and respiration changes, hopefully from the standpoint of those things lower, so seemingly harder things to start become easier as we go. And then we improve via what's called the SAID principle, which is the specific adaptations to imposed demands. So if we train for strength, we're going to get stronger. If we train for a marathon, we're going to get better at our endurance. So if I'm here to tell you anything today, I want to challenge you to do hard things, okay? And to find physical activity that will be fun and engaging, but to challenge yourself through that physical activity. And we can improve through our mental side, and there's some research to back this up through things like the concept of voluntary hardship, in which we're choosing to do hard things, building our self-regulation, and then ultimately, in turn, promoting better physical and mental resiliency. We can build mental toughness through physical challenge. So doing things that are hard, doing things that are challenging from a physical activity standpoint has actually been proven to help you maintain and improve your focus and your motivation. And some research was done, actually measured the term grit through a grit scale, in terms that if you did those challenging things, people that typically scored higher on the grit scale were able to build this resiliency through maintaining focus and motivation. So how do we do this? Okay, what is this for? Well, if aging is the sport, then we are all athletes here, okay? And one of my great mentors, Coach Nathan Moe, has the saying, we are all athletes of aging, and that is so true, okay? Meaning we can start at any point in our life, we can stay active, get active, stay active, and promote all of those different changes that I talked about previously. And this is a very popular picture in the exercise science world in terms of it shows and showcases a 40-year-old triathlete, a 70-year-old triathlete on the top and bottom, and then in the middle would be a 74-year-old sedentary individual, and just showcasing that we can maintain our muscle mass, our bone density, our strength, our resiliency through life. And I think that's an important key to take into account, is that we can be active, we can get active, and we can't reverse aging, unfortunately, but we can do a lot of things to combat it and improve and increase those benefits. So I'll kind of finish with this slide. So we get started, we stay active, and then as I said, with the hard things, we embrace challenge. And so there are some handouts that I had Travis print for me that goes through these guidelines. And these are based on the American College of Sports Medicine guidelines and go through the aerobic and anaerobic training guidelines. Anaerobic would be your resistance training. From an aerobic side, really what you're thinking about is the activity that you can do really wherever, whenever, however. And you're looking at this in terms of it's a time frame, 150 minutes of moderate activity, and I give you some examples there. 75 minutes if you become a little more active and go more of a vigorous intensity, and I give some examples there as well too. And then resistance training can be done through a variety of different ways, one of which is body weight that really I think gets overlooked, where it'd be somewhere you could start your progressions. And then working to where we're doing that 2 to 3 days per week for 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions, okay? Now the intensity is a little harder for resistance training. The ACSM recommends 60 to 70% of a 1 rep max, but not all of us have a 1 rep max, okay? So there's this cool tool called a reps in reserve, meaning the last couple of reps are challenging, but you could have done maybe 2 to 3 more reps, and that's a pretty good indicator that you're at a weight, or if you're doing that resistance training, the load that you're using is appropriate. And so I'll end with this. Challenge yourself, find things that are interesting, that get you engaged, that you find fun, and then find ways to make it harder, right? Make it harder, choose to do it longer, choose to do it more intensely, choose to do things that challenge yourself, because as we remember, my client Joe said the workouts don't get any easier, but life sure has. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you, Seth. I have had the pleasure of witnessing Seth in the classroom several times, and it should probably come as no surprise that his students have a great deal of respect for him and really enjoy him as an instructor. And so I appreciate your willingness to share your expertise and passion with us today. Our final presenter is a young woman with an old soul, her words. Carly Mullins is a double major, graduating last December from the SDSU nursing program, and will be graduating in a few weeks with her Spanish degree. Carly is a highly intelligent and extremely active person, and I've had the pleasure of knowing her for a few years while coaching in Lead State, as well as her being a two-time participant of the SDSU Alumni Mentor Program. It is my pleasure to welcome Carly Mullins.
This quite a bit. There we go. Yeah. I am 5'2". All right. A little bit more. All right. In an interview, first impressions are everything. Upon grasping the recruiter's hand, I couldn't help but notice that they didn't meet my eye. Rather, the cane in my left hand. Recruiters forget they're making a first impression too. Luckily, my smile didn't miss a beat. This was far from the first time that my walking cane had made a statement before I got the chance to part my lips, before my demeanor could be rattled. Yet this moment stood out to me. It affirmed an anxiety that I'd implanted in my psyche freshman year and festered through undergrad. A dread that echoed phrases in my mind like, I don't know if I'll have the energy for the life I want, and will I actually be able to work as a nurse after all of this? It illustrated the doubt I felt. Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here, sharing about emotional and digital wellness through my personal story. My name is Carly Mullins. I'm a recent graduate of SDSU. I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and I plan to graduate with my Bachelor of Art in Spanish this May. I'm humbled to stand before you, and I want to thank the SDSU Alumni Association, and especially Travis, for the opportunity to speak tonight. Coming of age is different when you're an old soul, again, called myself that, marked by youth, but riddled with the telltale signs of a full life. And that's hard to understand if you're listening with an ear for monologues and not dialogues. I have a tethered body, but a very unfettered mind, and that juxtaposition can get the best of me sometimes. I feel like I'm in a constant battle against my body. I alluded to it earlier, but to provide a bit of brief context, I have postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, but that can get to be a bit of a mouthful, so it's typically referred to as just POTS. Chronic fatigue, migraines, chronic mental health conditions, including major depression and generalized anxiety with panic attacks, amongst other conditions. There's quite a few, so I typically would just refer to the whole group as POTS and company. On paper, I'm doing really well for someone managing all of these conditions. I'm really thankful to have a lot of resources, a team of doctors, and excuse me, and just a lot of resources to help me manage. However, that doesn't spare me from the physical pain, exhaustion, detriments, and mourning of physical ability typically associated with aging, despite only being 22. Picture this with me for a moment. Imagine not being able to do tiny things, normal things, without feeling sick. Dancing to music, now you're sleepy. Reaching for that glass on the high shelf, now you're dizzy. Ran to get a couple groceries to finish off dinner, now you're achy. Sent an email, now your mind's a scrambled mess of upcoming appointments and hazy to-dos. As you can imagine, it's rather difficult to balance that, and I've been long trying to perfect my tightrope act. Physical health on one side, mental health on another, and emotional health somewhere right over the middle. I live a pretty active lifestyle. During the last few years here at SDSU, I've been involved with the Honors College Student Organization. I've dedicated multiple years to Lead State, a program designed to foster student leadership. Currently, I volunteer as a teacher for SDSU's English as a Second Language program, which utilizes language to form connections within the Brookings community and beyond. I'm proud to be part of the Alumni Peer Mentor program with my lovely mentor, Erica, pictured right there in the middle. She's dedicated so much energy, care, and space to me. And I've been fortunate enough to study abroad and make the most of the learning spaces around me. And I also enjoy culinary adventures, country swing dancing, and spending time outdoors. In all of these fun pictures, you may or may not have noticed the lack of one familiar character, my cane. She entered the scene probably about a year and a half ago now, fairly reluctantly, I may add. Trust me, I know I may make it look easy, but trying to make canes look cool is really, really hard. There's certainly a statement piece, but to me, it was more than just a 3-foot piece of wood or metal. There was a feeling that part of me wasn't enough, the feeling that I was failing or giving up, that I wasn't keeping up. And that's just the thing about any experience like this. You don't have to have pots or a cane to understand this grief. I think everyone here can relate to some sense of this longing and fear, the feeling like you aren't keeping up, that you're missing out, or that you're experiencing loss. Over the years, I've isolated myself and my circumstances. Crawling out of this tunnel-visioned way of thinking is really challenging. My identity has been so tightly knit in what I could do, how successful I was, what I could accomplish, or how productive I was being, not in who I was. I did, and at times still do, value my health, or tie my value, to my health and productivity. I perceive myself as a burden to others for things I cannot control. I felt as if my physical and mental maladies made me unworthy of people's time and attention. I know this doesn't make sense logically, but it's what my mind had convinced me of. I was afraid to lose opportunities and people's respect, so I hid my struggles and self-perceived weakness. In school, I spent hours closing down the library, studying on Saturdays, and was always on my feet at clinical. And don't get me wrong, I have a passion for nursing, but I was more afraid my peers would see my cane and automatically discount me as the weak link. I felt as if my knowledge had to speak for itself and make up for whatever self-perceived deficit I'd placed on myself. Unfortunately, that's just what makes these feelings of grief so isolating, especially in your young adult years, at least in my experiences. Your friends are far less likely to have experienced a loss themselves. This is not due to a lack of emotional maturity, education, empathy, or even a willingness to come alongside you and be a supportive friend. It's simply a lack of life wisdom and experience. So thus, you find yourself exploring this feeling alone. Your body feels as if it's on fire, roaring and crackling, yet there's no village to pass buckets of water and wisdom to envelop and engulf you in cooling comfort. You feel even more lost. And there are no magical words, star-aligning circumstances, or perfect things one can say to make the bereaved's grief go away. But I will tell you that the intention, support, and willingness to sit with the pain and discomfort of another, especially a young soul, without discomfort or judgment, can make the world of difference. You cannot expect a village if you aren't willing to be a villager. And this is where I think the digital world can be such a powerful tool, but it does need to be used with careful discernment. The social media landscape is a vast, overwhelming place, filled with resources and pitfalls. But I have found a vital sense of community and camaraderie with others who share similar health and life experiences. Over the past few years, I've been able to learn how to better manage my health, find useful advice, and find encouragement and confidence to utilize mobility aids out in the world. While there are many unhealthy influences of technology, I think it, as a resource, shouldn't be overlooked. I had so many positive experiences finding community online that I decided I wanted to amplify this voice. Less than a year ago, I started an Instagram page, Carly's Journal, where I began to share my experiences navigating college, nursing school, and young adulthood with chronic conditions. I don't have an upload schedule or anything formal. It's simply that, a journal I come back to when I have reflections to share. I think if it can help just one person feel less alone in their struggles, it's accomplishing more than enough. So what do you do when you get that phone call? The one breaking the news to you that your job offer has been rescinded because reasonable accommodations cannot be made. Accommodations that you've never received before, but have now been deemed necessary for you to provide safe care for patients. Accommodations that deem me too disabled to do the job that I've fallen in love with, that I've had in mind for 3 years. What does one do with that grief? Well, implacable pain has been no stranger to me. It's been my enemy, addiction, and friend. Personally, I've tried outrunning, hiding, sacrificing, and now submitting. I've taken comfort in blades, blue bottles of Bombay, busyness, and now ballpoint pens. Pilot G7s, anyone? I have a personal preference. I know it's daunting, and it really takes a lot to sit with the parts of you that make you feel uncomfortable. The thoughts that haunt you, the emotions that make you uncomfortable, your past wounds, and allow yourself to feel all those things. To allow yourself the time and patience to gently work through them. To allow yourself and give yourself permission. It's okay to learn from the parts of yourself that scare you. Because when you start to feel sad about the things that you missed out on, disappointed in the people that let you down, or upset by the circumstances that didn't seem to fall into place, that's when you know you've given yourself space. You're out of fight or flight mode. Healing involves grieving, and you don't always have to suffer in life because you are bad, because you did something wrong, or are hurt. Your emotions simply need space to take form. Sometimes you hurt because you didn't get the chance to know you were sad before now. Give yourself time to exhale. Give yourself time to see other options, other career paths, other people, other versions of yourself. With that said, I've learned one way I can take comfort is through writing. It's an outlet. So I challenge you to consider what's your outlet? A way to discover, a way to share. So I want to leave you with a piece I wrote because I think art speaks for itself, and grief is certainly something that defies words. I didn't think it is included in the handout I had Travis printed out. So this is White Sand Swallows the Sun. Salt doesn't soften my feet or bring relief to my aches. No. Like a yolk cured in salt, I've been slowly hardened to the ways of the world. It picked and drew at me until all that was left was the emaciated, cured soul of my earlier ego. One so dry, it can't possibly seep a story of sadness onto anyone anymore. All that's left is the brittle statue of my former self. A shell, if you will. It never loses its bite, though, being surrounded by examples of the life you could be leading, like salt on a wound. In case it wasn't clear, I'm not talking about the mineral. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
I'm not 5'2". You know, we heard Seth talk earlier and he referenced grit, and I don't know what the formal definition of grit is, but whatever it is, Carly, you certainly have it. And I know Erica is watching via Zoom right now, and she would kick me if I didn't say this, but I just want you to know that we are so incredibly proud of you. You are such an impressive human being, and it has been a pleasure working with you. And I can't wait to see what you do with the next chapter of your life. So thank you for sharing your experience with all of us. For those of you wondering, Erica DeBoer has been Carly's mentor in the SDSU Alumni Mentor Program the past 2 years. She's the unofficial president of the Carly Fan Club. I know she's watching right now, probably with tears in her eyes. So hi, Erica. Now, you may recall at the beginning of the seminar, I mentioned we have 2 wellness guides. I now have the pleasure of introducing the second of those wellness guides. Mariah Weber is a registered dietitian currently serving as the Director of Recreation and Fitness at the SDSU Miller Wellness Center. Mariah holds both her Bachelor of Science and Master of Science degrees in nutritional sciences from SDSU. In her current role, she provides nutrition counseling and wellness coaching to students, staff, faculty, and community members. Additionally, Mariah oversees and supervises the areas of fitness, aquatics, competitive sports, and memberships. As one of our wellness guides, Mariah is going to help us connect our 3 presentations by helping us understand how we can create and sustain behavior changes. Please help me welcome Mariah Weber.
Thank you. Thank you, Travis. So now that you have been introduced to the dimensions of wellness and have heard these meaningful presentations, I'm going to take some time to wrap things up by guiding you through a series of reflective questions. And these are designed to help you pause, think deeply, and connect with your own personal wellness journey. So I do encourage you to take that well-being assessment. That's the QR code on those sheets. But if you haven't taken it, I will have you just glance at the very colorful sheet that is on your table, because I am going to have you pick out a dimension in which you would like to improve upon. So feel free to write down any thoughts or prompts as I go through. I want you to be able to take the pieces from this presentation and be able to apply them to your own life. Okay, just making sure I'm on the right slide here. So the first thing I want you to think about is just the different dimensions of wellness. So take a look at that sheet, and I want you to find one that you feel least connected to right now. So if you just want to quickly scan it, and again, if you want to write any of this down to come back to it later, that is just fine. So what habits, situations, or priorities might have contributed to this? So why do you feel disconnected from that specific dimension? And again, you don't have to have answers. I'm just prompting some thoughts. So within that dimension that you chose, what is one small action or strategy that feels meaningful to you? So one that I put up here on my slide was environmental. It's probably the one that right now I feel least connected to. And as Sherry said earlier, your dimensions are always moving. So one may be really strong, another one may be lagging a little bit. So at this point in my life, I put down environmental. So why does that particular action stand out? And then I want you to ask yourself, why do you want to make this change? What values or future goals does this tie into? And how will your life be different, even in a small way, if you commit to making a change within a particular area? Okay, so we're going to just keep going and getting deeper and deeper with these questions. I'm kind of honing in on to my wellness coaching years. So let's talk about possible obstacles whenever you're wanting to make a change. So what might get in the way of following through on this particular goal? Are these obstacles logical or logistical, like time or access, or are they more mental, like self-doubt or lack of energy? And what has stopped you in the past when trying to make a change? And then lastly, as you're looking at the dimensions and what you might want to be changing, looking at your support system. So who in your life supports you in becoming a better version of yourself? Is there someone who can check in on you and encourage you, even if they're not doing the goal themselves? And how can you set up your environment to support your change even when your motivation is low? So with the dimension that I picked with environmental, I was going to select one strategy that I would like to focus on. And the example I put on here is I'm going to participate in events that help my community. Again, it's very broad. We're kind of just getting started and then just exploring your motivations, obstacles, and your support systems. Okay, so once you have this down, then you want to set a measurable goal. So you think of one small realistic action that you can take with you in the next week or two, and you make it very specific, measurable, and time-bound. And what I want you to do is just write it down. And it's just for you. It's just something that you are wanting to change, but it is very specific. So the example that I gave is within the next 2 weeks, I will identify and touch the podium. I will identify one service event happening within my community, and I will sign up to participate. So we're not saying I'm going to go to this one specific place. We're just saying I'm going to take a look, see what's happening, and pick one from there. So we're going very slow, step by step. So just some keys to sustaining behavior change. You want to start slow and you want to make it really easy. So what's the smallest version of your goal that still moves you forward? And think of this as building momentum and not perfection. And then you always want to be aware of some common pitfalls. So have you ever tried to change too much at once and what happened? Are you tempted to jump into something big instead of starting something small? And how might you change your environment to make the healthy choices easier? So just in closing, I just want you to take a moment and sit with everything that you just thought about, the dimensions of wellness, all of the presentations that you heard tonight. What is one feeling or intention that you want to carry with you after this session? And the big thing to remember is that small changes can lead to big growth, and it really is just one step at a time. So I do challenge you to reassess your well-being as your life changes and keep your journey of wellness moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariah. I think for the average person, seeing the dimensions of wellness can sometimes be intimidating. So I just appreciate you helping us to see that just small, simple actions can positively impact our overall health and wellness. So thank you again for sharing those resources. For everyone that is watching online, we will be sure to get those, all the resources that we covered today, we will make sure that we get those emailed out to you. Well, folks, it looks like our time is up. As I mentioned at the beginning of this event, our aim with this seminar was to ignite your interest and help you jumpstart your wellness journey. We hope that in some way, this helps you take the next step to a healthier you. I want to thank our wellness guides and our presenters. You all were incredibly amazing, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your insights, your best practices, and your stories. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We hope you have a great night. Take care.